first time bass fishing, my brother took me out onto a local reservoir. 1,000 casts later, I hooked on my first bass. Years later, my knowledge on bass fishing has increased with experience, and I'm here to inform you all of this knowledge. According to an article on the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection website by the NJ Division of Fish and Wildlife, largemouth bass can be caught by an angler within a wide variety of different waters, such as lakes and reservoirs, and how you catch them depends on the seasons, the temperatures, and the techniques that you use. You should all listen to this speech about catching largemouth bass, because I know you're all familiar with fishing in general, but you all don't know the different aspects that go into increasing your catch. And by listening to this speech, you will all gain more knowledge on the movements of largemouth bass, as well as the techniques used to catch them, which will allow you to stand out amongst others next time you go fishing. First, I'd like to talk about structure. And according to Mark Hick, editor at Field and Stream magazine, largemouth bass relate to structure, and they can be found near different types depending on the time of the day. So like I just said, bass relate to structure, and that's key. There's man-made structure and there's natural structure. Let's discuss the different types. So man-made structure are your docks and your bridges. These are located on almost all different types of bodies of water, and bass are always staging up near them, maybe for protection or because there's other bass or other bait fish near them that bass can feed on. And you always want to cast near docks or bridges. It's key, any time of the year. Now we'll consider natural structure. This is your vegetation, your rocks, and your wood. Vegetation is many different kinds. There's the lily pads, which bass will hover under. There's also, you got grass that grows, such as hydrilla, and any type of structure. And then you got rocks and wood. And again, bass stay near these rocks, any type of rocks. It could be small ones, it could be boulders. And then wood. Wood are down trees, fallen down trees along the shoreline, or maybe stumps, cut down stumps, especially in reservoirs. They have plenty of stumps located in different regions of the reservoir. And the other types of natural structure are your points, your coves, and your ledges. And points are points in the land and the geography, and therefore they make a point in the water. This right here, these are points. This is a big point. This would be probably the biggest point on this lake right here. And bass use these points. They stage up on both sides of them, and they wait for bait fish to travel by. You always want to fish points because fish are on them. And then you got your coves and your ledges. Coves are mostly shallow for the most part, and here are some coves right here, almost like creek channels. And bass go in these coves, especially during spawning season, because they're shallow. They stay in there, they lay their beds, and they spawn. And then you got your ledges. This is another piece of natural structure. They're found in almost all lakes and reservoirs, and the ledges are in the deeper water. You can't see them visibly. They're underwater, and it's basically they're drop-offs, and bass stay right near them, just like they do all different types of structure. Now that I've discussed structure, let's talk about seasons. You got your 4 main seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Each different season, bass have different movements. According to the NJ Department of Environmental Protection by the NJ Division of Fish and Wildlife, changing temperatures with the incoming seasons affects bass movements as well as their levels of metabolism, which is important to factor in while angling. start with spring. Bass become active in the spring. They're spawning in shallow regions. This is the easiest time of the year to catch bass. They go up in the shallow, they lay their beds. This right here is an example of a bed, this white patch right here. This is where they'll stay. And you could spot them with your eye many times. And they become active following the winter after not eating for a long period of time. Their metabolism rises, they're eating more, therefore it's easier to catch them. Now is the summer. Bass go deep during the day in the summer, or if they could find shallow cover which provides shade, they'll stick under that during the daytime. And in the evening time, they're mostly shallow, as well as the morning too, because the surface temperature of the water drops slightly in the evening and the morning. So it's easier to catch them those times. Now let's look at fall. Bass are actively feeding in fall in preparation for the winter. They're usually shallow or they're schooling in open areas. Now we'll consider winter. The bass metabolism drops, they go deep for the most part. They search any type of water in the depth of the reservoir or the lake that could potentially hold some warmth, and they stay there throughout most of the winter until the spring comes around. Now that I've discussed seasons, let's consider techniques. And according to Steve Quinn, editor at In-Fisherman magazine, since bass are typically found near a wide variety of different types of structure, you need to consider a wide variety of different types of lures that can reach them. These are the three main different techniques: jigging, and then you have swimming lures, and you also have topwater lures. They'll have different functions. The first technique I'll discuss is jigging. Jigs are fish's slower retrieve, and they allow you to fish structure without getting hung up. This is a jig right here. This piece right here blocks the hook, so when you're fishing structure, let's say vegetation or wood, your hook's not going to get stuck in it because this is protecting the hook. Jigs mimic crayfish. Very good lures. You could fish them shallow, you can fish them deep. It is basically a weighted head with a hook and then a soft plastic bait which represents a crayfish. And then you have weighted hooks and soft baits, which work mostly like jigs, but you have a wide variety of different types of soft baits that you could use for these. And these are fish at a slower retrieve as well. They allow you to fish structure as well. And they mimic a variety of different types of bait. These are used to fish structure too without getting your hook caught in whatever structure it is that you're fishing. Now we'll talk about swimming baits. You have your hard swimming baits, which crankbaits are one of the best baits around, lures I should say. They allow you to cover water fast. It's a constant retrieve. Not like a jig where you're pausing it and you're fishing it slow. It's a constant retrieve. You can cover water fast. It mimics bait fish. And crankbaits come in different sizes. This right here is a lip. This is a short one. Lips can go longer. The longer the lip, the deeper it's gonna swim against the resistance of the water. Now, let's talk about other hard baits. You got spinner baits and spoons. These are metal lures. They flash. The flash mimics a bait fish. You could fish them in all different depths of the water. And they allow you to cover water fast as well. Now you got your soft bait swimming baits, which includes swim baits. And this is a soft bait on a weighted hook, as pictured here. This is a weight with a hook and then a soft bait attached to it. It mimics bait fish, just like a crankbait or a spoon. You can fish at any depth, basically. Very versatile lures. And now let's consider topwater, our last technique. You got a popper. Poppers are surface lures. They float. They're hollow bodies. They mimic injured bait fish. These are used mostly when the fish are surfacing, such as in the summer for the most part. And then you also got your frogs. This is a frog right here. It's just like a popper, but it looks like a frog. It's not a plastic body, it's rubber. And this is a surface lure as well. It's a hollow body, and it allows you to fish thick structure. Like this thick stuff right here that grows on the top and stays on the surface. You could fish that with the frog because the hooks are protected. And you could also, it's known for fishing around lily pads. That's the main function for a frog, is to fish lily pads without getting your hook caught. Alright, and as I draw to a close, I'd like to stress 3 things. First, bass relate to structure, and finding the structure is key to catching them. Second, seasons predict the movements and activeness of bass. Third, techniques you choose to use, which I've gone over, will determine your success while fishing. Now that you have learned the ways to catch largemouth bass, as I have since my first time fishing, you can all use this knowledge to your advantage the next time you go out fishing or you're invited to go out. Thank you.